doing? I am Star Penn. I am the creator and founder of the JIA Blueprint, and I am your leaky gut coach. And today, what we are going to talk about is what you've been told about juvenile arthritis from your doctor is wrong. It's really the opposite of what you've been told. And it's so important for you to know this because you, as the parent, you're on a journey to heal your child and to really take control of their health, because ultimately you are their greatest advocate, and you as their parent are the one that gets to decide how your child's life is going to turn out. This is something that you've planned for and envisioned your whole life and absolutely should have a say in. And the only way to really have a true say in it is to really understand what's going on, so that way you can make the most informed decision. So what do I mean when I say that your doctor is wrong about juvenile arthritis? Well, it really goes all the way back and back and back to the premise. And it's not their fault. Autoimmune disease right now is epidemic. It's so disproportionate, which pretty much almost every single one of us, if we don't have a full-blown autoimmune disease, we are like tinkering with one. And so if we go back, let's say 50 years, where even just the idea of people having, an immune response as such as an autoimmune disease does, and at first glance of it and it being a rare thing, the conclusion at the time, right, the hypothesis, the theory that they developed was like, why is this immune system acting so strange? Why is the immune system going after this organ, going after this tissue? It's autoimmune. It is overactive. This comes way, way before we've had really any understanding of even gut microbiome. Even that is relatively a newer thought, and definitely still a new thought to some in the medical community. But we have to understand that they have been learned and schooled with a certain philosophy and way of thinking. And this is the premise on which they build all of their other thoughts about autoimmune disease on, when really, in fact, not to their fault in any way. The premise itself has been wrong from the start. So one of the things that we are told from the medical community is that especially when we become adults with kids, because it's so new with kids, not because they know anything, but because it's so new with kids, they say, oh, maybe the kids can grow out of it. And I talk about that in another video. But really, if you're an adult with autoimmune disease, you do know that they say that this is a forever thing. That's not true. It is a forever thing if all you're doing is pulling back the immune system, because that's all they have. All they have, which is great. If it gets us out of pain while we do the work that we need to do in order to heal our body, that's great, because some autoimmune issues not only cause pain, they could cause death, right? You think of like type 1 diabetes. We need that immunosuppressant to stay off of that organ. But unfortunately, that's all they have. It's a great tool. It is a wonderful tool, but it's all they have is the ability to stop our immune system from doing the one thing that it knows to do. And what they're wrong about is that the immune system is overactive and that it is going after healthy tissue, healthy organs, healthy cells. That's not what's happening. What's happening is we have a very healthy immune system detecting toxins in the tissue, toxins in the cells, toxins in the organ. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's backwards. So that's one of the things that they're telling you that is so wrong. And that is what leads to the only solution they have, is just to stop the immune system. If they were able to learn about or understand or recognize that really the inverted is true, well, they have certain they have certain ways that they have to go about things, whether they agree with it or not. And that, unfortunately, is part of the problem at all. There really is very little investigation into this matter in the pharmaceutical side of things. You will see some scientific papers, real scientists who know and who publish and who share. It's out there. The scientific research is clear what is going on in the body. But unfortunately, the published scientific research, the ones that are actually not tainted, they don't really get looked at on the pharmaceutical side of things. And unfortunately, that's the back door of where our medical professionals are getting their direction on how to treat our various illnesses. So we, just seeing really where their information is coming from, how they're, getting, and listen, they have, in many cases, these immune suppressing medicines relieve our pain. They give us extended life. They are helpful. So, and our doctors are so busy. If you've been to the doctor lately, which I'm sure you have because you're here, how long is the wait in the waiting room from the time of your appointment? And then how fast is your appointment, right? You get 10 minutes with the doctor and he's 40 minutes late, right? So not for nothing, but it's not like they have a whole lot of time to do this research. And maybe that's by design too. I'm not really sure. But that's really where, unfortunately, they're wrong and why I'm here to clear some of these things up. Let's think of another area where the medical profession is wrong. I got another one wrong about juvenile arthritis and other autoimmune diseases as well. And that would be, that it's genetic, which means you couldn't have controlled it. This happened to you. It's part of your genetic code. Your grandma had arthritis. Well, that's why your son or daughter has arthritis. It's genetic. That answer alone makes you feel so unbelievably powerless because you feel like, oh, I can't do anything about it. I passed on somehow these terrible genes. What they're not telling you is really how the genetic code is designed and how it works. And what the study of epigenetics teaches us is that, genes might load our gun. It might tell us, we get brown eyes, blue eyes, whatever, passed down from certain people in our family. But it's our lifestyle and it's the inner workings of the mechanics of our body that pulls the trigger, not the genetic code. Really, what the root cause of what caused our child to even get arthritis in the first place has nothing to do, really, with their genetic code. Now, if there are certain markers in their genetic code that are flipped on and passed on, they have the predisposition, possibly, to develop that particular autoimmune response. But really what caused it is much more physical, much more in the mechanics of things. We got yeast overgrowth in the gut lining, crowding out the good bacteria, boring holes into the gut lining, which then allow toxins out into the bloodstream, which then allow an environment of, once the yeast overgrows and the good bacteria is no longer in dominance, then that gives rise to the parasitic, more of the underlying underbelly type creatures that naturally live in our body. They proliferate and they cause malnourishment in the body. Our children's bodies, they maybe don't gain weight or they are very picky. They just aren't getting the nourishment that they need from their food. And that's because the parasites are taking it all. All of this is completely ignored, dismissed, just rebuffed by the medical community. But that is really what is going on in the body. And this is something that doctors completely ignore. I've also had several clients, tell me after, starting to work with me or getting on an initial call with me saying, well, I asked my doctor if we should eliminate XYZ, and they say, oh, no, the food has nothing to do with it. That's a big one for me. Food has nothing to do with it. I mean, even just to say, hey, eat healthy, don't eat processed food, I would give them that. But a lot of times they say food has nothing to do with it. And unfortunately, if you bring up that about diet and food, just do know that it is getting noted in your chart. You are going to be, moved up in as far as being possibly problematic. And we definitely need to be careful with that when it comes to dealing with the medical side of things. But let me see if there's anything else I can think of. There's a lot of things that they don't know about. So we discussed the immune system is not attacking healthy tissue, right? It is a healthy immune system, not dysregulated. It's attacking toxins in the tissue. Your child's genetic predisposition has much less bearing on the fact that they actually developed a full-blown autoimmune issue, although those immune markers might have been turned on. It's really the more physical things that take place in the gut that lead to having toxins in the bloodstream, which then, the immune system's like, oh, I recognize that. And, but really, if there was never any dysbiosis in the gut, if there was never the yeast overgrowth to begin with, if we never allowed the parasites to proliferate. And when I say parasites, I'm not just talking about, big, ugly worms. I use the term parasites kind of broadly, but we're talking about any type of pathogen in the body that really just naturally live in our body. So we're talking about like H. pylori, Lyme, strep, Epstein-Barr and mono, and all of those big, long worded bacteriums that really, we don't catch these things. That's another thing that we're not being told the truth about. We don't catch these things. These are all part of the, underbelly, of the body. Just think about in the earth, all the bugs and the creatures and the things that we think are gross, they play a role. They're part of the earth. They're part of this ecosystem. Yeah, they're not a glorious lion or a dolphin, right? That's what these things are in our body. They belong in our body. What happens is when we have the proliferation of the yeast, that usually kicks it off. And it could be from the not going through the birth canal. It could be from early antibiotics. It could be that you yourself had the yeast. They did go through the birth canal, but that was your composition. That's the health you gave them. Could be a multitude of things that caused that initial start of this happening in their body with the yeast. But what ends up happening over time, when that develops, then the good bacteria get crowded out and they can't keep up with keeping the bad bacteria at bay. And then the bad bacteria start to rise. The yeast in itself makes our child, and even the food that we're given, right? And it even could just be our own breast milk because of our own health, but start to crave more of those simple starches, quick sugars. It feeds the yeast. It feeds these parasites. The good bacteria aren't getting fed. I say parasites, I'm referring to all those other buggies, and they come and rise to the fore. And that is the true start of all of these things. And then lastly, and I'll just cover these three because I think that's all I have for today, is that the diet doesn't play a role. The diet doesn't have anything to do with it, or it's minimal. And if they do recommend anything or do say okay to anything, it would be that if you were just eating more fruits and vegetables. And, if you said, we're just eating home cooked meals and fruits and vegetables, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's good. But as far as really recognizing how food can exacerbate this disease and how food can actually heal and remedy this disease, that's something, unfortunately, that will be very hard to get acknowledged from the medical community. And all this puts us at odds with the very person that we're putting the care of our kids' hands into, which makes for a very frustrating, if we're trying to heal. I know that there's some people who are just very happy with the protocol, and that's not who I'm talking to. But if we really do want to heal, it does make for somewhat of an uncomfortable relationship. But unfortunately, that's where we are. If you are truly wanting to heal your child and you're looking for the truth and you're looking for answers, then this is something that information that we all just need to accept. And it helps us to navigate our path, because otherwise, there's just so many things in front of us that really it's scary and it's intimidating. And so when a doctor, says something to us that feels very final, feels very beyond our control, feels permanent, we tend to cave more and do things that really our gut is telling us no, but our brain is telling us do that, listen to that. And we need videos like this. We need information like this in little bite-sized pieces, because all of the information that you consume on this journey, and I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and to watch my videos as they come out, because it's all to give you these bite-sized pieces of information designed to help you to navigate this road in a way that makes you feel empowered and confident and sure, and to really do this. Because I use this illustration all the time, so you probably know it, but a cut on the arm heals, right? What do? We put ointment on it, right? It heals itself. Even if we didn't cover it, right? We see that it's trying to heal itself, but if we don't cover it, it can get infected or can get a scar or scab, because we're not helping. But what my point is what we see with our eyes is that body is in a constant state of repair. It is. It's in a constant state of repair. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us? If we give our child's body what it needs to repair, it's going to repair. It is going to repair. And I wish I could say that it was just, hey, just do this thing. Hey, just don't eat these foods. I wish that was the case. I wouldn't be shooting these videos if that was the case. But so it's not to simplify it or say, oh, this is easy, we can just repair it. No, it takes a lot of work. That's why I put myself in front of my clients the way that I do, and why I do the work that I do, because it takes a lot of work. It takes daily commitment and working together to get it done. So you don't have to go try to figure out all this stuff on your own, and most likely, or not most likely, possibly just get it wrong or not sure what to do, or you go down you turn over every stone and waste a lot of time. And that's really why I put myself here, so you don't have to waste that time. Let's just do it. Let's just get to it. This is a proven protocol. Not only is the protocol proven, but the support is phenomenal. You get day-to-day, minute-to-minute access to myself and my coaches and our functional practitioner and labs, and you have everything that you need in the blueprints. You can just do it. You can just get to work. All you have to do is the one step every day at a time. Get on coaching, apply, and do, eliminating all of that overwhelm and having to try and figure it out yourself. That's why I do it. That's why I make these videos, and that's why I created the blueprint. So anyway, I hope this information was helpful to you. If you feel like it's helpful to someone else, please, by all means, pass it along, and I will see you on the next video. All right, bye.